as Cara said to me. It's 12 months to 18 months. When Dr. Fauci says how long until a vaccine, he says 12 months to 18 months. When the FDA is asked how long until you get a vaccine, they say 12 months to 18 months. That is the point. When you ask me, when can I do a deep breath for the first time in 5 weeks? When they say we have a vaccine. That's when it is over. But there will be points between now and then where we should feel more confident and we should feel better. Well, I want it to be over tomorrow. I get it. I want it to be over tomorrow. I want it to be over tomorrow more than you want it to be over tomorrow. But that's not reality. So let's calibrate our expectations. And in the meantime, stay the course, because we have accomplished a lot through heroic efforts of healthcare workers, police officers, transportation workers who showed up to drive those trains and buses every day. I mean, people just doing extraordinarily brave, generous, courageous things every day, literally putting their lives at risk for the public. And we have flattened that curve by people's actions, which, remember, is why those projection models were all wrong. The projection models were high, they weren't wrong. It's a bad word. What they were saying is this is where the infection will go if unabated. What's the question mark on whether or not you can abate it? Can you put forth a government policy? But more, will people listen to the government policy? You have 19 million people in New York. I could stand up here all day long and say, you must social distance, you must stay home. If New Yorkers don't believe it, if Americans don't believe it, if they question their government, if I don't have credibility, why do I stand here and go through all the facts? I'm not asking any New Yorker to take my word for anything. I'm not asking any American, take my word for it. Here are the facts. I'll give you the facts. The good facts, the bad facts, the ugly facts, you get all the facts. You tell me what you decide. They decided on the facts that they would comply. And they've done things I would have never dreamed that they would do. And they've actually made significant progress. Do not reverse the progress that we have made in our zeal to reopen and get back to normal. That's going to be the challenge going forward. But we'll do it because we are New York tough, and tough is not just tough. We know what tough is, but tough is also smart, and tough is also united, and tough is also disciplined, and tough, most importantly, is loving. Well, that sounds counterintuitive. They sound repugnant. No, 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 no. Toughest people are strong enough to say love. The toughest people, and that's New Yorkers. Questions?
What would have to happen for New York City schools to reopen? What would have to happen first?
Running out of swabs to do tests. Is that something happening elsewhere in the state? Is there anything the state can help with?
We, on a daily basis, you're talking about medical equipment for hospitals?
Swabs, yes. The hospital officials say they're in danger of running out of swabs to do
Yeah.
tests.
I'll ask the Commissioner and Jim to comment specifically. But just so you know how this works, on a daily basis, every hospital does an inventory that they send to us that says what they have and what they need. And any hospital that is short, in urgent need of anything, we provide them with that material on a daily basis. We do not have any hospital that has said to us, we have an urgent need for X that we have not been able to fulfill. Two caveats. You can have employees in a hospital who say, I don't like this protocol, I don't like what the hospital is telling me to do. That's a different set of issues. Second caveat, you can have a hospital say, I only have a 3-day supply, and that makes me very nervous. I normally have a 2-month supply. Yes, I know that. Nobody has a 2-month supply of anything. So operating on that constrained timetable, that's where we are. But Jim?
After we received that question yesterday, we reached out to to the hospitals in New York City. There was one, the Medisys network, that would like some new swabs. We are sending them 200 test kits today, so they'll have that, but they're not out. They just wanted some in the future. And to the governor's point, I was on the phone with about a dozen of the hospital systems today, and just what he said, people get a little nervous about running out of masks and things like that, but often they have like a 30-day supply or a 25-day supply, and we monitor that on a day-to-day basis with them. So as they need it, we'll send it to them.
And have you learned anything about why frontline care workers are saying that they're being asked to ration PPE? Is that sort of along with the first caveat?
Yes, I mean, and I think Melissa spoke to that yesterday on the various protocols, and we're working very closely with the hospitals as well as the frontline workers to get them the needed supplies.
I'm sorry, Bernadette,
As you're talking about reopening the economy, but also specific to schools, what would have to happen first for schools to open, specifically in New York City, in regards to this plan that you're
they
going
have to work together, Bernadette. I don't believe you can't open one system, it's the gears, which is an analogy and a metaphor that doesn't work for anyone except for me, but that's okay, because it works for me. You have three big gears, okay? You have transportation, you have economic, you have schools. Let's take just those three. You want to start turning one gear. They all intermesh. You have to turn the other two gears. You can't tell me to go back to work. I live in Nassau County. Well, let's say I live in Westchester County, because I did. You can't tell me go back to work in New York City if you don't have the transit system operating. I take the train from Westchester to New York City. I can't go back to work unless you have a train, unless you want everyone to drive, which will be pandemonium in 4 minutes. You want me to go back to work? Who's going to watch my children if the schools are closed, right? For many working people in New York, the education system is who watches their children during the day. That was one of the problems with closing the schools in the first place, where people were very critical of, everybody is a critic, but people didn't want to close the schools because they said then the hospital workers won't be able to show up because the children will be at home. And if hospital workers don't show up, then you have a real problem, because our major fear was the collapse of the hospital system. So all of these things have to be coordinated, and they have to be coordinated on a statewide basis. Now look, when I closed all the schools in the downstate area, there were many school districts that disagreed. We have like 700 school districts in the state. Right now, all the school districts basically make their own decisions. I know, but in a situation like this, you can't allow 700 school districts to make their own decisions. You can consult, you can try to cooperate, et cetera, but we have to have one plan at the end of the day, because then we have to take New York and try to coordinate it with New Jersey and Connecticut and Delaware and Pennsylvania and Rhode Island to the best we can. And this virus doesn't understand school district boundaries. And these systems we're talking about don't work on any of these boundaries. Schools, transportation, jobs, they don't work on a county basis. It doesn't work that way. Suffolk County, that's a nice delineation for a lot of issues, but none of the issues that we're talking about. So the entire downstate area is one area, metropolitan area. Then you have upstate. You could argue there should be a differentiation based on numbers, or could be a differentiation. And that's going to be the conversation when we bring Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. They'll say, look, we have rural parts of the state, which are one situation. We have metropolitan areas. That's all going to have to be talked through and reconciled.
Governor, talking to Blasio about this.
Well, and also pull in Massachusetts and Vermont. It sounds like you're focused on some of those areas.
Yeah, we're talking to a number of states. And again, we want to coordinate as much as possible, but focusing primarily on our tri-state area. They talk about a tri-state area. The more we can, but you also have to balance the complexity and the unwieldiness with coming up with a plan relatively quickly that we can agree on. So that's what we're going back and forth on. We're going to try to work with everyone, But again, you have different states in different situations, and you have to prioritize where you really need coordination. We need coordination with New Jersey and Connecticut, first and foremost, because that's where our workforce comes from. You have a total interconnection among those states. People live in Connecticut, they drive to New York City. They live in New York City, they drive to New Jersey. There is a total interconnection among them. And that's the primary place for coordination. Next.
Buffalo and Erie
Are
County,
you gonna have a discussion with that?
I'm sorry?
Are you ready to announce a